Hey guys, hope you all are doing well. In this video, we will talk about Bittensor and its subnet. We will try to understand the Bittensor in the most simplistic way. Uh, Before I'll start and go into the details of it, first thing first, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is only for educational purpose and it is not intended for the UK citizens or UK people. Now, coming back to the point, most people understand BitTensor or assume BitTensor. It's quite a very complicated system, and it sounds complicated, but it's not. I mean, but the basic idea is actually very simple. The basic idea is, or just try to understand BitTensor as a decentralized network where many AI services are competing to be useful. It's just try to understand. Now, what we will do is we will try to get this concept clear by taking Netflix as an example. So let's consider BitTensor as a network Netflix server and consider Subnet as a web series. And we will go into the details of it, like from business model perspective or revenue perspective. I think it works exactly the same way the Netflix is doing it. I think it's the most simple way or simplest way to understand how BitTensor and its subnets works, right? So we will cover that. We will also cover a couple of subnets, which in my personal view are good ones from, like, they have a real use case and it is being used in the industry right now. I'll cover Chutes AI and I will cover Targon. Again, these are something where I know the stuff. I have done some research. It does not necessarily mean that it's the only ones which are good. There are, I think, 120 subnets we're talking about. So we need to research a little bit more on it. So let's get it started. And what I'll also do it is at the end, from investment point of view, I will try to cover which one is a long-term investment, good for long-term investment or short-term investment, what are the risks involved, and what in my view should be the investment strategy. So let's get it cracking. So what BitTensor actually is. So as we briefly discussed, BitTensor is an open network where AI services competed to be useful. So if you'll see in this diagram, so and then AI services can be your AI models. We are talking about compute. We are talking about the storage, giving storage as a service in a decentralized way, data or other services, right? So these are the different AI services where, like, one subnet can offer compute as a service that can be plugged in. Another service would be kind of a decentralized storage, etc., right? So anyone can plug in compute model and digital services. Now validators score the results. So what we will also do it is we will try to understand these validator miners, etc., from, again, from a simple analogy perspective where it fits it from in Netflix analogy, right? Now the best advantage of doing it in a decentralized way is not one company is deciding who is the winner. So based on the validators results, uh, the rewards, right, will be distributed accordingly. So the market, not one company, decide who wins. So if you will take, like, in a simple one liner, it will be BitTensor is like an open market for the useful AI, right? Hope it makes sense. Let's try to understand it by taking an example and try to understand from Netflix perspective. Okay, so BitTensor is Netflix server, right? So Netflix is just providing a platform. BitTensor is providing a decentralized AI network platform, right? Now on the top of Netflix, there are different web series that we are viewing, right? And if we are sitting with our family, we are more inclined towards, okay, let's see what is there any kind of a family series, right? If we are watching it with our group of friends, it's more about action or a thriller, right? So there are different segments, there are different purpose, and there are different intention or a task or different web series, right? So I just thought we'll try to compare and understand that way. I think your subnets works in a similar way. Chutes AI is one subnet, meaning one web series, which is providing inference as a service. Targon is more to do with the privacy compute, and similarly other subnets are. Now, also try what I thought of it, try to understand, like, from business revenue or business model perspective. If there are few web series which are super hit, right, then it's not only the web series producer who are getting benefited from it, it's the Netflix platform also which is getting benefit for it. And try to understand more from you know Bittensor scenario, right? So let's just assume for the argument's sake that every web series has its own share or subscription model, right? And so if I want to watch a web series, say say yeah, so let's say any web series is coming in, and what I need to do it to watch that, I need to buy the Netflix share, just from argument's sake, right? And Netflix share as well as the web series own share as well. And the way I can buy the web series share is only by trading in Netflix share. So if I'm buying the web series share, I have to buy Netflix share and then convert it into web series share, right? So if somebody, like, if there is a mass who wants to watch a particular web series, they first have to buy Netflix share and then convert it into web series share and then buy it. More kind of a subscription model. Exactly, it works exactly the same way for the subnets. If somebody wants to launch a subnet, first thing they have to do it, they have to buy a set of tau, right? Burn it. So that's one use case. And then whenever somebody wants to trade it, right? So if I want to buy Chutes AI alpha tokens, right, I can trade it only in tau. So I have to buy tau first and then buy it. I mean, it's like more kind of a staking also. It's kind of a staking as well. But the point is that if somebody wants the alpha token can be traded only in the term form of tau, right? So just think about a scenario when these subnets will start getting listed to the centralized exchange. It's not only the subnet that will get benefit. Centralized exchange has to keep a stack of tau also to support the trading of these subnets, as per my understanding. So it's a that's how we will understand, that's how we can understand how it overall works. The reason I try to take this analogy is there are a lot of buzz factors, like, in tau. If you'll try to understand from technical way, I think this is the best way to understand, and I hope it is making sense, right? So if I'll try to again put a one liner, it's one server, many shows, one network, many subnets. That's basically defines tau ecosystem, right? Okay, so again, it's very important to understand how fundamentally thing works, so that when you see a lot of noise, when you see a lot of pumpamentals on the YouTube, you can filter out the noise. When you have your own understanding, you can find out the difference between what truth is and what somebody is trying to scam you or somebody is trying to unnecessarily sell their bags. So I think this gives a fair idea about the tau ecosystem and how it works. Yeah. Let's go to the next slide and try to again, what I did it is try to put try to explain these things in a very simplistic way. When we talk about miners, validators, etc., again, try to understand what it is in bit tensor word. So miner is basically what is producing the values, right? And again, from Netflix point of view, just consider the producers of these web series, right, who creating this web series. Validators are basically which basically validates the work of this. And from Netflix, like, say if the viewers give the rating or the critics gives the rating, which gives the kind of a, which is validating a web series, is what the validators are doing it for the subnets, right? It tests and score the responses so the subnet can get the signals from the noise, right? Now, last thing is, like, in Netflix, people get paid in the form of a currency. Here in tau, depending, like, again, tau model is very much based on Bitcoin. So better performance attract more incentive, which pulls in better builders and hardware, right? So if there is a subnet which is has a great fundamental, has a great use case, and it has been actually being used, the tau emissions will be largely given to that subnet. So it depends on, like, which subnet is having how much of a emission, which effectively means that how much attractive, useful that subnet is, right? So I think that again hope will give you gave you, like, good understanding about minor validators, etc. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. Why subnet matters again. It's more kind of try to understand it from Netflix analogy. Bittensor as a streaming platform, subnet as a different web series is, text references, image vision, compute, these are the different services uh, the subnets can provide. What it is also doing, it's trying to modularize the whole ecosystem, meaning not one application, one single application providing everything, right? It's it's basically modelized in a very logical way. One specific subnet is having a specific its own theme and its own audience. So for example, somebody is more looking for a decentralized storage, there will be a subnet for it. Somebody is more looking for a kind of a compute, right? So somebody is more kind of looking for a compute in a decentralized way. Actually, that's again a very good service. And then we will talk about Targon. Then we will talk about more about that. Uh, yeah, so that's the whole idea of having the subnet, having its own specific theme and audience. So that's about subnet, and that's how we can map it to the real world. Uh, in the next slide, we will talk about Chutes and Targon in a bit more detailed way. Yeah. So let's understand about very on a very specific subnets. Okay. So what is Chutes? Chutes AI is one of the oldest subnet, uh, having a real world use case. And consider that, like, try to understand Chutes as a decentralized serverless compute platform designed to deploy, run, and scale open source AI models in production. So first thing, and what is the biggest advantage of Chutes is it has a open AI compatibility, so it can work with the existing models. um, it's fast, it's quick. It's not, I mean, we sometimes people get confused Chutes as a compute platform. It's not. It's a compute service platform, means it is being used to deploy, plug in and use the existing AI models, or create a new models and deploy it in a very most efficient and a fast way, right? So you can build around deployment, scaling, and model interference. It has a open AI compatible endpoint, make integration easier. So it's kind of more subnet, more relevant to the developers as such, where if somebody is basically creating its own model and wants to deploy it with the fraction of the cost in compared to the existing uh, options, uh, and deploy it in a fast and a quicker way, or wanted to use any of the existing OpenAI models, etc. So it's more kind of an inference service providing by the Chutes, which makes it quite popular and useful right now. Um, the next one, what I wanted to cover was Targon. Again, Targon. Okay, so when you use right now ChatGPT or any other model, uh, we do give the prompts, and sometimes we do share the personal information. It's being told to us, and I think they say that they don't share, like, it's the sensible information is not being stored, etc., etc. But there are instances where our own personal information or any information being given on the prompt or uploaded on the prompt is being used to train the models, right? Which is not the preferable way to use the LLM models. I think Targon solves this problem. So it's kind of a provide a virtual machine, right? So it's a kind of a secure VM way to compute the things, right? So it's a confidential compute we are talking about through Targon. Targon has its own VM. So if somebody is using Targon and then using AI models, then your data is secure, meaning that there is an option where if somebody wants that their prompt data is not being used to train the models, etc., or it's not publicly available, it is possible. So use cases: confidential compute, secure GPU rentals. It is being used to training and deployment as well, and built for sensitive workloads. So I think it more comes to, like, I think in future I would see it's more relevant to the enterprises also, or like, a use cases where a set of data needs to be accessed by a set of people only, and anyone querying the data, etc., it should not be publicly available, right? So it's an interesting use case. Why investor care? So we explained it, that it's the story of a secure AI infrastructure. Some interesting point to share, that it's built by Manifold Labs, one of the very earliest Bittensor compute teams. It raised 10.5 million Series A by OSS Capital. Uh, Also, there are some angel investor which has a link or a background related to Google, Shopify, and Bittensors. Okay, if you'll see the production thesis, it's confidential compute plus secure GPU rentals for enterprise AI workload. So as I was just telling that, it's more enterprise relevant, right? Now, before I'll move ahead and we start talking about staking or investing, etc., one thing we have to always keep in mind, that these are all, consider these all as a startup, and startup probably in a seed phase or a series A, where fundamentally it's not white paper we are talking about, that I have researched, right? But still it's in an infancy stage we are talking about. So don't get too tempted and don't get too greedy. Put all your portfolio in once something, again, and no investment advice, it is more for educational purpose, but try to treat them as a startups, right? Split your money if you decide to invest after your own research, and always keep in mind that these are the startups, and that's always a risk, right? Your 99 95, more than 95% of the startup fails despite of their best effort, but these 5% gives you kind of, these are the multi-baggers, gives you 10x, 20x, or 50x, which one of the subnet can be, right? Now, if you ask me personally, I'm like, considering my situation, my age, I have a low risk appetite. So a lot of my portfolios are more in the large cap. This one, only the Bittensor ecosystem, I am taking a more risky bets, where rather than keeping TAO, I am more invested into the subnets like Targon or Chutes, etc. Um, if you are new to this crypto world, I would personally not suggest to do that. I would suggest TAO, keep majority of the, whatever you wanted to, let's say if you wanted to invest 100 into TAO ecosystem, I would say 50, 60, 70% in TAO, play around with 20, 30 with these all subnets, right? So that's a safer and a smart investment strategy. If you ask me, my overall portfolio strategy is like that: 60, 70% are in the safe BTC, etc., and 30% again depends, like if you are one of the young chap, then why not take more risk, right? Okay, so coming back to this, a very quick comparison between Chutes AI and Targon. Like from use case perspective, Chutes is inference first, Targon is infrastructure first, right? So it's like fast model serving. It's is a service platform. It has open AI compatibility. Targon is confidential compute, training deployment layer, and secure compute underneath story, right? So, and then now let's talk about uh, how Tau staking into the subnet works. What I wanted is, you guys, if you like the video, please, first thing, please subscribe it. It will help me, and like the video as well. Also, put in the comment if you want me to create a detailed video about how Tau staking works. I can explain step by step which wallet to use, how to buy, how to sell, or like how does the overall staking works, right? Um, the relevant website is Tau Strats. Go there, look around, explore more things about it, and then I can create a new video. Just tell me in the comments. Yeah. Uh, what I wanted also is, I wanted to give you a quick idea about how money flow works in the Bittensor, right? So first thing first, we have to somebody who wants to buy uh, any of the subnet tokens. Say shoots one thing, first you have to buy or hold Tau, right? And then you pick a subnet which you want to do it. You stake. The way you do it, it is again subscription model. You stake the bot TAO, and the way it works is that you basically stake it and then convert it into the alpha tokens. One good thing is the staking rewards are still very good. So if you'll see 30-40% yearly, staking is quite common in these subnets. The reason for that is the emission as well. We have to be, see, one thing, you have to be very careful again. Before I know I'm deviating from the topic, but it's very important that any new subnet launch, you should wait for a month or so, because initially the emission rate is so high that you probably will, I mean, the price stability takes its own time for any new subnet launch, so you have to understand it very carefully. What I have explained you is more kind of a old subnets where the that kind of a volatility of the price, that phase is over. Like, for Chutes and Targon, and I have taken a DCA approach. I took I'm doing a DCA approach, but if you wanted to go all in, I think not a good idea to do it when the subnet launch. You have to wait for some time for the price to be stable, yeah, and then you earn alpha in terms of the staking reward. Now it's more kind of investor snapshot. Again, I'm just coming from referring from Tao Stores and some of the websites. You have to do your own research, but from market cap perspective, we're talking shoots around 123 million, Targon 86. This is the emission rate, 620 alpha by day by 420, and they both are like quite old subnets. um, very active. There is good commits, means development team is quite active there. um, and one other thing, again, we're talking about Shoots and Targon, but you might have, I've just recently came across this temple story, right? Templar, sorry. What was one of the subnet which was talked in an NVIDIA conference? Chamath actually highlighted that. It again has a very strong use case, but again, as I said, the kind of a risk involved, right? So it actually is leaving Bittensor TAO, and I think TAO founder Const is their Twitter handler. I think he was not very clear that they're doing it in the most fair way. So I think there was a lot of hassle between them, and then Templar decided to leave. Bittensor dumped 37,000 TAOs on the holders, alpha holders. So there are always risk involved in these subnets. Always keep in mind. But Shoots, Targon, I think these, if you wanted to play a risky bet, these kind of a subnets are, I think, fair enough to put that story. But again, very small amount. Um, Again, now more from investment point of view, what should be the long term and short term? We know that TAO is a, looks to be a safer long term bet. It's a core exposure to overall ecosystem. It's not like, even see, for example, Templar fails right now. Anybody who has a very concentrated investment, I think, is suffering with a huge loss. But let's consider a scenario where, I mean, TAO just fall down by 15%, but again, TAO will recover. I'm not sure about Templar. So it gives you the core exposure, not dependent on one particular thing, one particular subnet. Uh, it's quite liquid, easiest to enter and exit. Again, there will be price volatility on TAO, which we still are experiencing. So that's a short term setup. Risk is still very volatile and less explosive upside, of course. It's more kind of a medium or a large cap rather than micro cap or a small cap. Shoots higher beta bet on inference demand, which is increasing. I think, let me tell you one good interesting thing about Shoots. Shoots, when it was free, it was being used very, very heavily, and I think there was a day when it was used 160 billion token per day when it was free. And I think, again, in their revenue model also, when they started charging for it, they started with 300 or $200 per day. Now I think in last 90 days the revenue was more than a million or so. So Shoot says being used widely, and they are covering, I think, 30 to 40% of their miner cost of daily cost right now by their revenue, so which is a very good thing. It can outperform if API demand and adoption stays strong. um, again, we have to see, like, in short term what the usage revenue and launches would be. Ring risk would be single subnet, much higher than tau, and then valuation can uh, go ahead of fundamental quickly, right? So that shoots similar to Targon. Secure compute is the use case. Short-term setup is more thesis and hype driven. We have to wait and watch. I think that's why, even if you invest, do it in parts, see how these projects are progressing, growing, and start your more investment accordingly, right? Again, it's definitely has much higher upside. That's the pros of it. And then let's see how this confidential AI narrative plays out in future. Yeah, if that one will be a winner. Okay, so that's all about tau and its some of its subsystem. I hope you will find this video useful and understand, have a better understanding of it. Again, uh, as I said, if you like the video, just like it, hit the like button, subscribe it, and let me know if you like this overall approach of creating the videos. Give me suggestions in the comment. If you want me to cover or create some videos about how the overall long-term or short-term strategy should be based on your risk appetite, I can create that. Um, yeah, that's all I wanted to cover. So I will try to cover a few more subnets. I'll try to cover. I'm also very bullish on virtual protocol and its ecosystem, so let me know if you want me to cover that. I can do that. Okay, so yeah, hope you will have the good rest of the day, and